We are WNST, Towson, Baltimore. Baltimore Positive. We are positively taking the show on the road. Man, I'm going to be eating a lot of oysters this month. It is an R month, and we are doing our 26th anniversary. Got to get the new logo up with the oyster and the crab cake. Maryland Crab Cake Tour back out on the road. I will have the Ravens scratch-offs from the Maryland Lottery. Right now, I still have some Gold Rush Sevens doublers. We're going to be at Coco's on Wednesday, and then we're really kicking it into gear all month long, every day, an oyster a day, every day. Lots of celebrity chefs, cool people that want to eat oysters with me. Eastern Shore, we're doing it all. And we got football. Luke's going to be covering the team. As you all know, he's there. He's at Camden Yards doing what he's doing. And the Ravens are doing what they're doing from Kansas City. And then, of course, the Raiders after that. But we've talked so much about the offensive line, Luke and I, and about how to make it mesh when they don't play games and all of that. And then this incredible tragedy with Joe D'Alessandris has led me to the interwebs. And I had Luke on. I took a little vacation time around Labor Day, and Luke said, Matt Skura wrote the sweetest thing about Joe D'Alessandris. And I'm like, well, that doesn't shock me. Matt was always a thoughtful cat. And last time I saw him, I think we were having the fried versus broiled crab cake discussion at Greenmount Station, which led to the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. He is deep into retirement. I don't even know if he's in his 30s yet. He was always a spry young man with a great future ahead of him. I always thought you were going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a scientist or an astronaut or something when it was all over with. Matt Skura, we welcome you back onto the program. How are you? How was your life after football, my friend?
It's going well. I apologize for the audio. I know it's not going to be perfect, but yeah, no, everything's been going well. Enjoying life here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and yeah, family's doing well. Got 4 kids now, so that's
Happens
you know,
quick for all you O linemen, man. You all make babies. Flynn's teaching. He's got kids going to college. I have between Jo and Flynn and Ed in the early days, and then the middle range, and it's generational for me. You were all like little brothers to me as radio guys. I love when you take whatever money the league gave you and whatever health you have and go be happy. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? I don't think I ever had a chance to ask you that because you were busy trying to be a 15-year center in the National Football League, but you played 8 years, 7, 8 years.
yep, yep. And so still, staying in shape and all that, lifting, working out, and yeah, I really want to stay close to football. So right now, I'm coaching as an assistant O-line coach at a high school team here down the road from me, and that's been awesome. Just really being in the game, seeing it from a new perspective. High school is really when it's some of the most pure football as far as just guys who enjoy the game and are doing it for the love of it. And you really get to pour all the knowledge and experience you have into these young guys who, you know, maybe are just trying to build the tools, build that foundation. So it's been a lot of fun getting to do that. And yeah, trying to see if coaching is the route that I want to go into. And because I just love that development mentor aspect of the coaching world.
You're not that far from it that, you could try to give it a go. Where are you on that? Are you done, or do you think maybe you still want to play? Hey, I've asked Flacco that every for 10 years. I've been asking Joe that, and he's still running around out there in a Colts uniform. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think I would love to still give it a go. And that's part of the reason why I'm still staying in shape and lifting and doing all those things, but also, yeah, figuring out what I want to do in that next transition because, there's so much life. Football is very short in the grand scheme of things. And so finding those passions, I'm passionate about football and really pouring myself into that. And so finding ways where that fits my personality and things that I'm passionate about. So yeah, just still seeing where this season goes. You never know what can happen, and yeah, so that's been keeping me busy and networking and all those sorts of things. It's been great to just continue to keep in contact with a lot of my former teammates and really just people around the NFL.
Yeah, you were far from like, Odell Beckham or Rod Tidwell on the social media front. You were kind of, the quiet guy. And whenever I invited you out, you and your wife would come out. And I remember having you in Essex at one point, having you out in Owings Mills. We'd sit and talk. And you were like a real regular guy, but you had super smart parents. You came from this background. You had this education about you. But you were also, much like my friend Mike Flynn, and much like a lot of the guys that I'm still friends with, you're more the ham and egger. You weren't the 1-1 overall. You were a guy trying to figure it out and make it, and coaching was really important to you. And taking to social media, as Luke found you earlier this week when I came back from vacation, check out my tan. I wasn't at training camp, but he said that you wrote some nice things, and I went and saw this about Joe. Now, I will say this: anybody listens to the show knows here of my estrangement. Part of my estrangement is back in the Brian Billick era and back in the Ted Marchibroda era, the team would introduce me to you and coaches as community members, not as pig varmint media. Don't talk to him, don't trust him. It was way different. It was like I knew every Jim Coletto, I knew every coach, I knew every Rex Ryan, every Mike Patton, I knew all the coaches. I never really knew Joe. Harbaugh was different. Harbaugh never really wanted to. I mean, I never knew name any of the coaches that, I never really knew Cam Cameron. I never really knew most of these guys. So I didn't know Joe, but I always saw him coming off the field. And I always watch how you all interact with your coaches because they're the most important people in your lives when you're there. And especially when you're third team or second team or trying to make first team or trying to hang on the first team, that they are really the first line of defense and how you're going to get better every week and breaking you down and probably hurting your feelings at various points. You have really special words for Joe, as did everyone. And I would just say on my own accord, and I said this to Luke earlier, one of the real hard parts for me at this point in my life is not knowing the really good people like you, like him. And that is what's lost to me in this. Tell me about Joe because he clearly affected your life and your career, man.
Yeah, he is just a salt of the earth guy, someone who truly is looking out for the best and really wants you to be at your best all the time. And, him and I connected on many different levels. Like I said, him and I were both, he's born in Aliquippa, just outside of Pittsburgh. I was born in Pittsburgh. He worked
We
in the
never
paper
held that against
mills.
either one of you, by the way. I
Right.
tried, but you were nice people. I couldn't do it. It's like Marvin Lewis. I can't even be mad at him.
Yep. And thank you. And, he worked in the paper mills. My grandfather worked in the paper mills in the Ohio Valley. So, and my grandfather was the one who really got me introduced to football. So a lot of times it felt like I was talking to my grandfather, and, he coached at Duke. I played at Duke. So right off the bat, we just had a lot of really strong connections, and we really just understood each other and our backgrounds. And, he was really the one that got my career started in Baltimore as far as playing time. Marshall went down week 2 of the 2017 season, and Joe D was like, "Hey, Matt, we're going to give you the first shot at being the starting right guard." And it just so happened to also be we're traveling to London and playing against the Jaguars. So he was the one that really instilled that trust and said, "Hey, like go and play and like just be yourself." And from there, he just really developed me into a professional athlete and really just understanding what it means to be a good husband, a good father, like what those things look like. And he was just, yeah, consistent every day. You knew what you were getting. He's a tough coach. You knew you were gonna there was going to be no days off as far as like physicality, effort, attention to detail, and it didn't matter if it was, March, April when we're in OTAs, preseason, we're preparing as if a preseason game was a regular season game, and the regular season, just taking it to a whole new level as far as the preparation. So he was just always that consistent person. And yeah, on the field, really get after you, like push you, bring out your best. Um, and off the field, he was just someone who you could just go to lunch in the facility and just talk to forever and just talk about life, football, anything really. And those are just rare people that you come across. And he was just, yeah, really a special person. And even after my time in Baltimore, we talked, I mean, every other month. I mean, we were talking all the time. And so he's always been that special person. And yeah, it's really tough to see that he's gone. And but like I said in my post, like his legacy of how he impacted people will live on.
You know, there's something about I'm from the east side. My dad worked in a mill at the steel mill, union guy, all of that. You and I are speaking today on Labor Day of all things, and I've written about my laborious nature as well. You know, the first time you met him, did you? He clearly knew you went to Duke, and you may have known there were connections. But where's the first time you met him? Was he a sponsor of yours? Did he go in and say, "I want Matt Skura on this football team"? For did you know him at all before that, or did you meet in the facility and hey, he's a coach, and you happen to have these things in common? Because once you find those kinds of things in common, whenever that is, whether you read about it ahead of time and it's a phone call off season, but that's a really special, different kind of connection that goes beyond him and any other player that he's ever coached, probably.
Yeah, so I didn't know Joe before he had arrived to Baltimore. So it was just, coincidence that all these things came together and definitely helped, kick off that friendship. And it definitely, yeah, just helps like having someone that I understood at that level, and he understood my background and like, the kind of program at Duke that I was under as far as hard work, toughness, grit, discipline. And so he was really able to, lean on me in that way. And yeah, he was just like a great resource of knowledge from all of his years in coaching as well.
I had John Feinstein on last month, and he wrote a book about Duke and admitted right in the middle of the show that he knew nobody here was going to buy it because we hate Duke and we hate Pittsburgh, but we like you, Matt Skura. Matt Skura is here, one of our defending champions, and center. You mentioned that Wembley game, and that is such a definitive mark in the history of the franchise, really, for the league and politics, all that went into it. I was there. I was in the locker room after the game. That was your first chance, right? I mean, what an awakening, what a strange time for you to be in the middle of that, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I even forget about that. I mean, there was so much going on. Like, and it's my first, and not only my first like NFL game, it's my first start. And yeah, there's so much going on, like you said,
The outcome
politically.
of the
And
game. I mean, I just remember being in that locker room under Wembley, and it was like, unlike our franchise doesn't lose much. You know what I mean? I remember, as you remember, beating the hell out of the Rams 50 something to nothing at the. I mean, I remember most of the time y'all being pretty happy lot in locker rooms and tough losses, but never bad losses. Like, that was a weird time for you to get your career going as I think about it, because I don't remember that specific part about your career. But I remember that
yeah,
day.
yeah. And so it was just, I mean, like I said, it was, traveling to London on short notice, and the mental of that, and then the mental of, this is my first start. And so you're locked in on that. And yeah, like it was kind of all a blur. I felt like the game happened so fast, and then we were already, back on the plane and getting ready to play the Steelers the next week, and trying to recover from the time difference and the jet lag. And it was, I mean, really that whole next month or so, it kind of seemed like a blur, just because yeah, it was, I'm kicking off my NFL career, scheduling and all this stuff. It was kind of wild times.
Well, so Matt, I want to bring that full circle to now because, they're playing the Chiefs Thursday. It could go well if you hear this afterward, but just in a general sense, as an offensive lineman and these questions and Joe's death. I mean, like 6 weeks ago, we're talking about, hey, offensive line, they got some players. They're, Linderbaum looks fine. That they bring Rosengarten, they bring these guys in, and they have this great coach, and that's part of what you're saying. Get sick. It's tragic. It's awful. They got to go play. They have young players. Tell me about being a young offensive player and that sort of melding of everything John Ogden taught me back when they made him a guard back in 1996 about footwork, the symphony, how that offensive line has to work. Because that's really going to define the Ravens the first month of the season. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is gonna be a team effort, especially within that room. And, they've got Ronnie and they've got Linderbaum, who, yes, Tyler is a younger player, but he has a ton of experience, his career has skyrocketed. He understands what it takes to win. Pat McCary, he's been there for a long time. So they have a good core of veteran leadership where they can kind of corral around those younger players. And it's creating the chemistry, but it's also the focus of like, okay, the preseason is getting us ready for the regular season. Now that the regular season is here, how do we take our preparation to the next level? And now we have more time to, after practice, if we need to get more footwork or pass sets, whatever that is, to really work on that. In training camp, you have meetings and lunch and the whole rest of your day after practice. So sometimes it's harder to get those extra reps in. But once the season's here, you have a little bit more time. And so it's going to be really important for those guys to continue working that. And I think honestly, their confidence is pretty high right now, which is great. You want your body feeling great, you want your confidence high. And I'm really excited for them in that group heading into Kansas City.
Well, they're pretty good last year, right? I mean, you probably stand as shocked as anybody. They ran the ball 3 times in the AFC Championship game and didn't win and played at home. And the kind of season they had, which was akin to the 19th season where it was just so good. So, so MVP for Lamar, right? And you're probably the guy that you could tell your 4 kids at some point. I played with Flacco and I played with Lamar, and one was this way and one was that way. And you won't believe what happened in Wembley. And then after that, we had to transition in offense in the middle of a season. You really went through a lot of things that, different changes in your time here. One of them was just seeing this maturation of Lamar and then seeing what he became last year. And dude, we're still talking about a guy in his mid-20s, what he can become.
Yeah, no. So it's exciting. Like, I know they've had like that disappointment in the playoffs, and that I feel like is just continual fuel for them. And just knowing Lamar, like, and what he's said in the media, being so locked in and being focused and really getting everyone on that same page and ready for the season, because he knows what it takes. And I know that more than anyone else, he wants that championship and he wants to be holding the Lombardi. And, you know, it's going to take everyone and more. It's a long season. It's 18 weeks, and so it's going to take probably a few practice squad guys. It's getting everyone. It's not just the guys on the 53. It's the guys on the practice squad. It's probably going to be guys who are joining the team outside of the organization at some point. And it's, the thing is, the culture at Baltimore is so strong, and so that's what everyone is going to rely on. And they know what it takes to win, and the discipline and the preparation. So yeah, it's going to be fun to see kind of the culmination of all their work through the off season. And and there's also, without playing the preseason games, everyone's going to have a little bit of rust to knock off, but it's going to be exciting to see how it all comes together Thursday night.
Matt Skura is here. He was here from 16 until 20. He's been gone for 4 years now. Feels like longer than that to me. The Dolphins and Giants, then Rams, now living down in the Charlotte area, playing Papa Skura. And we found him after very nice words about Joe Delisandris and the tragic passing, and right here on the eve of the season and all this stuff going on. I didn't think so much talking to you about Lamar or tell me what you know or how many of these guys you actually played with. You played with a lot of them. Now that I'm looking like down the list, like, you were there for tough losses with Marlon Humphrey and Ronnie Stanley, and maybe not there with Roquan, but there with other guys, and seeing the Kyle Hamiltons come in and seeing these other young players come in, Zay Flowers, really quality players. But Lamar, and the Lamar you found at the beginning, and people underestimating Lamar and that sort of chip on his shoulder and all that. And it's weird. The guy's got statues in his home college stadium and the MVPs, but he's got this chip on his shoulder and he wanted all this money. He's got all this money. He hadn't won playoff games and he hadn't been able to stay healthy in certain years, but he's still 27 years old. Like, we look at it all and say, what is there for him to accomplish? What do I need to know about Lamar as a guy that hadn't talked to him in 3 or 4 years, but saw him in the early part? I did give him that really cool Thriller shirt, that Michael Jackson shirt with his face on it with Thriller for him and his mom a couple years ago. But what do I need to know about him that I don't know? That from the outside, when you're watching the game, that you know about him that I don't know?
I think it's two parts. He's extremely competitive, and he's also a very vocal leader, which I know people see his personality as, he's very outgoing and all these things, but he is not afraid to get after the offensive line. If he sees something that we're not doing well or someone like needs to step up, he's not afraid to call that out. And but he also puts that on himself too. Like, it's not just him, preaching to everyone else. He puts that pressure and expectations on him, and he's working hard. He's putting in the work. I think, yeah, sometimes maybe the people just see on the outside, it's, you know, running around and all these things, but he is so locked in, focused. His preparation is on another level. His willingness to win, he'll do whatever it takes. And he's a very special player. I mean, that's what's made him a two-time MVP. And he just demands the best out of everyone, and everyone wants to give their best for him because they know if we, played really great defense, if we run the ball well, we're passing the ball well, we're protecting him, we're doing all these things, we're playing really good team football. And when Lamar's at his best, he's truly unstoppable. And so that's just the Lamar I know, just extremely competitive, but also one of the best teammates, a guy who will do anything for his teammates, defends his guys, and will do anything for them. So that's just Lamar I know. Just again, salt of the earth guy who is a great teammate, great leader, and just wants to win, just like everyone else.
Matt, I'd say you went to a couple other places: Dolphins, Giants, Rams. Back with the Dolphins, you got to see because you came in as a baby here, and and the Ravens love that. The Ravens love that you haven't been polluted by anybody else. Our way and only our way. Then you went other places and took the Raven way with you, and Joe's way, and John Harbaugh's way, and whatever. What did you see in other places that said, well, they do that a little differently? Maybe they do it better, maybe they do it worse, but I'm sure you saw different things in these different buildings where you traveled around year to year pretty quickly, after you left here and seeing how things are different.
Yeah, no, you definitely see how things are different, and you just also just gain a new perspective and really just gain a lot more knowledge. You're like, okay, well, this is how people schedule their day different, or you know, um, some teams, in the middle of the day take an hour or two for stretching and massage. Like, that's how they like to schedule their day, and so you really learn, like, okay, there's different ways to create success, and um, also you just kind of learn, okay, this is how do I fit what I experienced through the Ravens, and how do I navigate it through the culture of the Dolphins and the Rams and the Giants. And so that's kind of what I did, and you know it's been a cool experience that way, just gaining that new perspective, seeing, just kind of comparing and different. And not one way, I'm not saying one way is worse or better, but you just gain appreciation for each little, you kind of grab those little nuggets each way you go. And also the people you meet too. I mean, that's really been cool as well. The amount of friendships and relationships I've gained along the way that are extremely important to me now and will be for a long time. So that's been actually a really cool part of kind of spreading your wings, so to speak, in the NFL, you get to really interact with some cool people that you never thought you would.
including me and you right here, right now.
Right.
Matt Skura joining us here from Charlotte. Last couple things. How you feeling? I mean, you had a nasty injury here. I mean, you really did. And I liked you a lot. You liked me. We always, had that like when it's different for me in the stands when it was one of my guys that got injured and I'm there and seeing it because you're human to me. I don't bet on you. You're not on my fantasy team. You were always very human to me, all of you. And I think later in life for all of the guys, and I have a couple of friends that have had, CTE issues and other kinds of trauma. I worry about all of you as I get older and all of you stay younger. I always think like, I know how my knee feels after the 2006 surgery that I had on it, and I'm just an old beat up catcher from Little League. I saw the damage you guys did, and how are you? You feel okay? You feel like you played in the league?
Some mornings yes, and other mornings no. I think the biggest thing for me has been honestly staying active, and that's both mentally and physically, and just yeah, keeping my body moving, keeping my mind sharp, and really yeah, throwing myself into different things. So yeah, some like my knee. It honestly, that's one of the things that really doesn't bother me at all. I think it just
Well, that's an amazing thing. I know you come from a medical family, but it's been 4 years, right? Almost 4 years.
yeah. Yeah, and so that yeah, my left knee actually it feels great and really
I hope it feels better than my right knee.
yeah, yeah, it really doesn't bother me at all. I think that's just like the testament to you know, the Ravens staff, the work that I put in. Um,
Modern science.
yeah, science like that helps too, and yeah, that's I'm definitely fortunate in that way to not be dealing with those things and to not have kind of like that chronic pain. Um, yeah, so I feel good.
Nice. All right. So last question, because you might wind up on the Ravens. You might wind up playing against the Ravens in the Super Bowl 23 weeks from now, right? We can all hope one way or another. Do you expect the Ravens to win the Super Bowl at some point? Do you expect Lamar? I mean, I know the dumb question you say, would you be shocked if they win? You would not be. But do you expect them? Do you expect the Lamar to make good on that, believe that moment that you remember?
100%. I know that that's Lamar's long term, or that's like his ultimate goal, right? Like, you got to keep it 1 week at a time, but you also got to understand what the bigger picture is. And I know that's all that he is working for, and all those guys there in Baltimore. That's the ultimate goal because they have the talent, they have the culture, they have the coaches, they have everything in place to do that. And so I think that's where the excitement comes, at least for me. It's like I know what is kind of the mindset in that building. And yeah, I know that they're extremely hungry for it. And so, yeah, I would not be shocked in any way. And, I'm really, whenever I see, oh, they're best in the running game in the league, or their pass game is doing great, or their defense, special teams are all number one. I'm never shocked just because of the work, the culture, and the kind of people they have in that building.
Matt Skura is our guest. He is still making his way through life, still a young man, and still might play in the league. He's down in Charlotte. I appreciate your kind words for Joe and coming on and really talking about him and offensive line play. It's an exciting season for the Ravens. Every fan's excited, and really the question marks are about the offensive line. So no better guy to talk to than you. You're bullish on the Ravens, though, right? I mean, you're bullish. You played with a lot of these guys. You're bullish that if Pat McCarry's got to do it, he's going to get it done.
Yeah. I have 100% faith in all those guys, and yeah, they're ready to go. They're obviously getting practice and getting through their whole routine and game plan, but yeah, those guys are going to be ready to roll, and I'm excited for them.
Yeah, you were out on the field when Mahomes was doing the Jedi passes a number of years ago back at Arrowhead. We hope that doesn't happen on Thursday night. Take care of yourself. Stay healthy out there. It's beautiful to see you doing well and enjoying your life. And maybe I'll see you with a helmet on television sometime soon. All right.
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds
Matt
good. Thank
Skura
you for
joining
having
us
me.
here. Yeah, thanks for joining us as always. Making old friends, keeping old friends. Luke's trying to do the same thing out in Owings Mills this week as we get ready for football. We get ready for baseball, and the Orioles back at home this week in a pennant race around here. Lots and lots of deer columnists, writings that I've been doing this week for Labor Day, as well as just plain old coverage. The tech service is coming back to life, and we are eating an oyster a day every day, beginning Thursday, beginning with John Shields at Gertrude's, my cousin John, Chef John, over at Gertrude's on Thursday. One oyster every day. I'll have more than that for the next 26 days. It's all brought to you by our friends at Liberty Pure Solutions, where they keep your water clean. If you have well water, just like the oysters are keeping the bay clean, so we have more delicious crab cakes on the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. It's all brought to you by friends at the Maryland Lottery. I will have the Raven Scratch also. We have the Gold Rush Sevens doublers from Coco's to Costas to Cooper's next Friday for the Fells Point Oyster Festival on Friday the 13th. Bruce Springsteen's in town. Styx is in town. Pearl Jam's in town. And we're keeping it Baltimore positive. Stay with us.